What's going on, people? My name is Terrell Harris, and this is.
Brooke Harris.
Oh, Brooke.
Why do you do that? Like, what were you looking
Because
at?
sometimes you say my name, and other times you want me to say.
And we also have Joe with us,
Hey,
and
y'all.
welcome to Theology Thursday 15. Yeah, you think so?
Oh, 1-5.
Yeah, well,
I might periscope this one.
okay. So Theology Thursday 15, we were going to be talking about how to become a great listener. So for those who are just joining us or for those who are watching us online, we've been discussing relationships, not romantic relationships, but friendships and how to go about networking, types of friends to choose. And what came up during last week's conversation is communication and how to actually, I guess, get along with each other. So what I wanted to focus in specifically on this particular session is the idea of how do we become active listeners or good listeners. This week, let's look around, look around. I think we're far enough from the kids. There's not too many people playing chess, and they're not making too much noise right now. So I think we're good to go. So I have a few examples of bad listening in the Bible that I wanted to talk about. The first one comes in Numbers 20, and but what's happening in this particular instance is um, the Israelites, they're in the wilderness, and Moses has a staff. And well, let's just read some of it. It's Numbers 20, verses 8. Actually, just verses 8. And it says, "Take the staff and assemble the congregation, you and your brother Aaron, and command the rock before their eyes to yield its water. Thus you shall bring water out of the rock for them. Thus you shall provide drink for the congregation and their livestock." So I'm going to stop right there. So what happens is when Moses goes to draw water out of the rock afterwards, or during this point, he taps the rock. So God tells him just to speak it out, and because Moses actually taps the rock, he's not permitted to see the promised land. So God gave him specific instructions, and he gets punished. From my perspective, it's kind of harsh, but I guess since Moses is the leader, he's supposed to know how to listen to God, and he just wasn't listening for whatever reason at that point. So there's another example of poor listening. That's in Joshua 5:6, and this explains how the Israelites in general weren't listening as a community while they were in the wilderness. And it reads as follows: It says, "For the Israelites traveled 40 years in the wilderness until all the nations, the warriors who came out of Egypt, perished, not having listened to the voice of the Lord. To them, the Lord swore that He would not let them see the land that He had swore to their ancestors to give us, a land flowing happens is God doesn't he kind of guides them around for 40 years, and then like a lot of people die off, so the children of the people who actually made it out of Egypt, they're the ones who inherit quote unquote the land of milk and honey. So poor listening from Moses and the Israelites. But I wanted to hone in on this one particular story. Is in Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot's wife. So that's found in Genesis 19. And here you have angels speaking to Lot and giving him instructions, because what's happening in Sodom and Gomorrah at this particular time is two angels come in, and the men in Sodom and Gomorrah, a group of individuals, basically they want to gang rape the angels. So at this point, right before this happens, Abraham petitions with God. He goes backwards and forth not to destroy Sodom, because I think God had figured at this particular time that a lot of people were crying out against Sodom. So Abraham pleads with God, and then we see Lot and we see the angels. Lot welcomes them in, and women knock on the door. Lot actually, it's kind of crazy. It's a disgusting story, because in the midst of this, Lot offers up his daughters instead of letting the people in. So I feel sort of weird about this story, because in one instance you have a group of individuals trying to rape men. Another instance, Lot's like, well, don't rape my guests, but here, take my virgin daughters and do whatever you want. So needless to say, because that's a story in itself. Needless to say, what happens after that is The angels say, Lot. Basically, they tell Lot. Actually, let's just read it. In Genesis 19:7, they tell Lot, "Flee for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the hills, or else you will be consumed." And then if you skip to 26, it says, "But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt." So basically, Lot's wife turns around and gets burnt to a crisp. And this is because she's not listening. Because at this particular point where the angels actually spoke, they were speaking to Lot and his entire family. So to me, that's one of the most drastic things in terms of not listening. And a lot of weird things in Genesis, man. Genesis is a good book to read, but because there's so many missing things in Genesis, like so Lot's wife gets consumed by fire and turns into salt. Lot doesn't say anything at all. Like no sympathy, no sorrow. I don't know if he kept it moving because he was scared, but there's nothing. But yeah, we could dig into that at a time. So that sets the foundation of poor listening. So what I want to do is play a video right now to see if we as individuals are good listeners. Let's play this video.
We'll be back.
Let's set it up. We'll share. Oh, here we go. We'll share this screen right here. Let's see if we can.
How many of you here think you're pretty good listeners? Okay, most of you think you're pretty good listeners. Let's do a few listening games. Repeat after me the word spot 5 times.
Let's see if we can.
Spot, 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 spot. What do you do to green light? Ooh, there was a confusion there. There was some stops.
Some people say
maybe that explains some of the accidents in the area.
Huh? No, really.
Let's try another one. Okay. What does ROAST spell? How about COAST? What do you put in a toaster?
Bread.
She's done this before.
Don't call me out.
Did you?
She's in education.
No, everyone's like, you're not going to trick me on this one. I'm not going to answer. So now that you've had a chance to think about it, I bet you'll answer. Go ahead and answer. You took 2, remember?
Oh yeah, so we missed this one. Let's
Yeah.
So the last one. Stop. All right, so for the last one, she was like, if you have 3 apples and you take 2 away, how many do you have?
2.
You have 2 apples?
You have 3 apples. If you take 2 away, how many do you have?
Yeah, I would have said 1.
Yeah. So exercise.
It's not because I wasn't listening. It's just because I might be processing a little slowly.
So just a quick exercise on listening. And to get into some of the discussion points. So in terms of listening, what they say, at least in some of the notes that I found, is like most people actually think they're excellent listeners, but it says, or experts say, most of us only listen at 25% efficiency. But the good news is we can improve our listening if we work on a few things. So the question I want to open up for us that are here is, what do you think prohibits good listening?
What?
What prohibits? What prohibits good listening?
Being easily distracted.
Okay.
Because I know that happens to me, like, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking, or a person is talking, if something's going on over there and it catches my eye, I look up. So that can impact my listening. If I'm thinking about other things while a person is talking, that impacts me.
Mm-hmm.
Good answers.
What else?
Yeah, the second one was just said thinking of other things like having other thoughts in my mind, being preoccupied with something else. Even sometimes like internal, I mean, the same thing, like internal thoughts or, you know, people's hair.
People's hair.
What?
People's
Like
hair
I was looking at
like
you like,
appearance.
wow, your hair is really growing, and I had no idea what you were saying earlier.
So the visual distraction.
Yeah, I would definitely say noise. Definitely background noise, and there's a lot of it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. What else prohibits listening? You know what? I think my expectation, because
What do you mean by that?
I'm gonna tell you, if I expect to talk to you for a certain amount of time, and you go over that time, in my head, I have like a clock going on.
Wait a minute. So you telling me like when we talk, there's a specific, I have like a wrap it up time limit on our conversation?
Not all the time. I'm just
But
saying that
there
if there
is.
is a time when I do have that going
Oh,
on,
it's good to know.
I'm like, okay, how can I get them to wrap this up?
Yeah.
Because I'm losing interest or I have something else to do or whatever.
You can't tell when she's at that point.
No.
I've seen it.
You say you've seen it?
Yeah,
No, you have.
I promise you, I have. After Theology Thursdays. We're just talking. Yeah. Anyway, this isn't the.
No,
Yeah.
that's actually
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
No, actually,
You
you know,
mind
yeah,
your business.
actually, you know, I've seen it there. I haven't seen it one-on-one. I think one-on-one,
Twice I got in
one-on-one, you probably disguise it more. But yeah, I know what she's talking about. Anything else that prohibits us from being good listeners?
I think also, like if you're tired or you have
Yeah.
something else that, you know, coming after that could kind of prohibit you from listening because your mind is on something else. But you might not be thinking about something else, but, you know, your body is kind of like impacting your mind and everything.
That's a
And
good point.
sorry. Yeah, I was going to say sometimes you just don't know how to be a good listener.
I think for me, in terms of body's a good thing because after like. I know we used to talk. We used to talk when I drove from work, which is cool. But after sitting at a desk, sitting in traffic, and then coming in, when I come in, I don't want to necessarily speak all the time.
Right.
So I don't know if it's fatigue. Actually, it's probably more along the lines of it's being fatigued. Being like, you know what? Not right now.
Yeah.
So actually, your timer had already expired before I walked in the door.
Yeah, thanks.
At times, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys have?
No, you go ahead. I think it's something now.
All right, so here is a list that I got from healthylearn.com. It says the yardstick compares oneself with the speaker. Example, I think I'm smarter than this person.
Oh, so like if you're talking and I think I'm smarter than you, then I think it impacts me actually listening to you.
Yeah. Can you relate to that?
Do you think I can relate to that?
Definitely. Definitely.
That is not true. I do not do that.
Okay. Number 2, the mind reader reads the speaker's mind instead of hearing what they are saying, or reads the speaker's mind instead of hearing what they're saying. An example is, he said he liked it, but I can tell he did.
You want to ask me if I can relate to that?
Nah, I can relate to that one. I can relate to that one because I tend to read your body language, and what you tell me about your body language is usually you say I'm wrong.
Yeah, because sometimes my body language, I know body language is a way to read, but for me, sometimes my body language is not telling you exactly how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It could be just different than what you perceive. Because I would have people do that a lot. Oh, you look la la. And I'm like, I don't feel like that at all. But my body language is showing them that. So, yeah.
Let's see another one.
Do you, by mind reader, do you also mean like people that when you're talking, they try to finish your sentence or like?
Yeah, that too. I haven't come across that much lately.
But I've come across that before.
I don't know. Sometimes that plays out in my mind, maybe.
So then you're not listening.
No, not at all. Not at all. You know what? I think what it is, once, especially in the dynamics of relationships, and even with people that you're extremely close to, I think you get so used to their pattern of speech that at times you think you could actually tune out half of what they say because you know where they're going, especially if they tend to be wordy at times. I'm
You see what I have to deal with here?
I guess it's a brutally honest theology Thursday. So for us, right?
It's a marriage counseling.
Right?
Marriage counseling.
So,
Colorful as Jeff.
yeah. So for me, at times, I know your patterns, right? So I know how you speak. So I pick out the main points and all that. I pick out the names and.
Yeah, and then I say, "You're not even listening. Like, let me finish what I'm saying."
Yeah. So yes. So yes. Maybe we both need to work on all this.
Me?
Yes. All right. So there's that. Filtering is selective listening. I guess we just talked about that. One paying attention to what concerns them and pretty much Xing out what they don't want to hear.
Oh, that is a little different though.
Think so?
Because it said filtering out and listening to what you want to hear. So what you were just talking about was, okay, I think I know it, so let me just, piece it together so I can get to the point. But sometimes if somebody's talking to you about something and it's like a bunch of fluff, you might be like, okay, let me ignore this. Okay, that's what I want.
Yeah. It's a little bit different, especially if you're asking somebody a question or trying to get information from somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's slightly different.
Number 5, daydreaming is when the mind wanders and prohibits complete listening. So daydreaming when somebody speaks. Guilty? No? Yes?
Oh yeah, yeah, especially like when you go to, it could be in.
What I go to?
No, but like when you go to a conference or something and the person is giving something and you just start trailing off in your mind, you're missing presentation and what there is to learn. I do that sometimes with people. Like, oh wait, we're talking. Yeah, so what's up? Yeah, I've done that at times.
So
Not being fully
daydreaming.
present.
Yeah, not being fully present.
Number 6, advising is working on a solution while the speaker is still talking. Oh man, I am super guilty of that one.
And sometimes the speaker doesn't want a solution.
Yep.
Man, that's a tough one for me because I typically tend to get into fix it mode. So at times I have to take a step back, but then sometimes you want me to help with the solution, and then you just kind of have to nudge me. So for me, that's kind of a hard one to kind of figure out. And to understand when somebody wants to fix it, when somebody actually truly just wants a ear versus when they want advice or guidance.
Right.
And I think as a speaker, you have to be a good communicator and kind of say that. Like,
Yeah.
I just need you to listen right now, or I need you to listen and come up with a solution.
Yeah. So I'll work on that one. Then we also have. Did you just make a face?
No, I said, yeah, right.
Hey, how you doing?
Theology?
Thursdays, just come join us.
Hi.
Deanna, Terrell, nice to meet you. Terrell?
Terrell.
And
Yeah.
Brooke,
Joe, nice to meet you.
hey, great to have a seat.
So-
We are live streaming.
So we're live streaming. We're in the. No, you're fine. We tend to do this for the people who can't make it, and then people can watch it online. So what we've been discussing tonight is listening. Like for the past 3 or 4 weeks, we've been talking about relationships, and so we talked about networking. These are non-romantic relationships, building. And then what came up last week during the discussion was the idea of listening. So the foundation for our particular story, we were using the story of Lot in Genesis, where Lot's wife gets basically burnt to a crisp because she didn't heed God's commandments in terms of looking back. So the angels tell Lot and Lot's wife and families, don't look back because Sodom and Gomorrah is about to be consumed with fire, and Lot's wife turns around and she gets burnt up. So what we've discussed so far is or what we're actually just on now is what actually prohibits us from being good listeners, especially in the context of just relationships in general. So some of the things we talked about is distractions, like there being a lot of noise, also potentially daydreaming, trying to finish people's sentences. What else do we have here? Selective listening, jumping to conclusions. We were on number 6, which was advising, which is working on a solution while somebody's speaking. So in the context of our relationship, since we're married, oftentimes when she comes to me and just wants me to listen, sometimes I'm already trying to fix it when she doesn't need me to actually fix it. So that's an aspect that prohibits us from listening. So number 8 is the winner will go any length to be right about something or look for ways to twist facts in order to be right. So I think this is more in the context of like arguments and debates. So instead of actually hearing each other out, what tends to happen in these situations is you wait or you pick out things to prove your point or to disprove their point to kind of build yourself up above them. When somebody could actually just kind of be pouring their heart out to you. And I know that gets difficult at times because oftentimes we don't necessarily want to face criticism and critiques. So we kind of get in these defensive modes when somebody really could just need us to listen.
Right. We're just waiting for the pause.
Yeah.
So we can, Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's tough, especially when you have emotional ties to somebody. Actually, it's probably tough even if you don't have emotional ties, because a lot of us really just don't like to be critiqued in general anyway, unless you're open to critique. Yeah, ain't that?
I'm not. I mean, I don't just go around signing up for people to critique me, but yeah. I mean, I don't always like it, but I think it's helpful.
What about in the context of?
Some for you. No, just kidding.
I almost gave you the straightest face. Like, let's not.
What about
That's so funny.
What about in the context of arguments? So if somebody's like, because last week we talked about, I think what came up was somebody actually kind of pouring themselves out. What if somebody had an issue and was like, well, I don't like when you do X, Y, and Z, but it's just coming out like harsh. Like, what's been your experience with that? Because I know I'm defensive.
For me, it's really about typically the tone that someone has. Like, if you're just, if you argue like I argue, then we're just gonna be arguing. I'm just admitting I'm not the best arguer.
So you can have the tone, but they can't.
I try not to, because I know that it would drive me crazy if I was hearing the tone. And sometimes things just aren't for that moment, like the critique or the pushback. Like we're going to talk about this, and then later on we can talk about X, Y, and Z. But sometimes you have to deal with the heart of the issue and not these extra things that then come into play when emotions flare and But so I think it all depends on who it is, why we're having the conversation, and how it happens. A lot of factors. So maybe it's me after all.
Some of these are tough because I'm starting to realize like maybe I need to work on my listening a little bit more.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I'm becoming less defensive though. I think I'm becoming less defensive. Slightly. If my defensive is like, if it's like that much, it's probably like that much.
Oh, that's a lot. You just moved those fingers so fast. I don't know. Sorry. Are you still listening?
Yeah, I am. I'm listening to you. Yeah, I'm listening.
Listening.
Oh,
no. I'm listening to you. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. I think one of them is sometimes when people are listening, and this is a quote, they're listening to respond or to be like a me too type of a thing. Like, this one time, and it kind of is the same where I don't really need you to tell me about when this happened to you or your family or your cousin, I think parameters have to be established when communication is going on. Like, what are we, like, what am I listening for, Because the assumption sometimes is made that I'm calling and I'm trying or whatever, the assumption that I might make is that this person's going to be listening to me to support me through this, but they could be thinking a myriad of other things of why I'm, I don't know.
But how do you set those parameters if you're in an emotional
And yeah,
state
I don't know
at
that that's
moment?
easy.
Yeah.
But sometimes I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to talk to you, but I just need you to listen, or I just need you to, like, yeah, Or sometimes I'll say, I'm about to drop something on you, and I need you to pray, and then call me back and tell me what you think, or
I'm trying to think, like, before our relationship, I don't know. I'm trying to think if, like, my communication wasn't that, like, no one challenged me to really be a listener or actually reevaluate my communication skill set on a consistent basis.
even in friendship circles.
No, God, we're simple. I mean, even when we get into altercations, not to say that this is a good thing, but typically we won't even. At times, we might not even readdress it. We may just somehow come to a resolution, which is unspoken, give each other a head nod, and then it's business as usual. Which isn't good always, because sometimes that changes the dynamics of our relationships. Because I'm thinking of a few examples now where I can tell there was falling out. So what happens is that it creates a distance in our relationship, but it never gets readdressed. And I'm not sure if just because males are taught to be less emotional about things. So I think at times, in terms of communicating with each other, we have heart to hearts, but it's rare that we have heart to hearts. Um, so even in learning this new skill set, it's like, all right, how do I apply this new communication skill set in the context of my male relationships without necessarily being deemed as soft, if that even matters to me. It may not matter to me at this point, but I know for some of the individuals that actually may matter. So, like, how do you address heart-to-heart conversations with another male, or do you? Some guys actually don't. Or
Us females have nothing on that. We have a totally different experience.
Great story.
It was
Right.
just
That
crickets.
sounds
We
great.
listened
That
to
sounds
that.
cute. We different experience.
So we're at number 7. Boxing is picking out issues you disagree with by debating or putting down the speaker. We kind of touched on some of that in terms of talking about how we argue. Number 8, the winner will go to any length to be right about something or look for ways to twist facts in order to be right.
Wait, didn't you just say that one?
No, I said number 7, boxing.
No, before that, I thought you went over number 8. Okay, go ahead. That's familiar. Okay.
I don't, but even number 8.
What's number 8?
Number 8 was the winner will go to any length to be right about something or look for ways to twist facts in order to be right. I would say if this is a friend, maybe you should reevaluate whether or not you should be friends with this individual. Because if your conflict, like if you have a valid point, like if you're arguing with this individual or there's something that you're critiquing this individual on, if the individual is actually wrong, and if anytime situations like this come up, I would question whether or not I would want to be friends with an individual that's always going to try to make it seem like I'm in the wrong, or they can do no wrong, or that they're like holy or angelic. So I would say I wouldn't even want to continue, heart-to-heart relationships, or even just heart-to-heart discussions. I mean, I may have to reel it back from being a friend to actually being an associate. And let's see, number 9, the topic shifter changes the subject before the speaker is done.
Sidebar.
Well, that's sidebar, right? So, can I explain what the sidebar is? I don't know if everybody knows what the sidebar
The
is.
sidebar is when, like, say if he's talking, and then I cut him off and say sidebar, and I just talk about something else. Now I might go back to what he's saying, or it might not.
Who invented the sidebar?
No
Do
idea.
y'all use that? Like, do you use
I mean,
sidebar?
not
No?
actively, but I have.
Have you heard it before?
I never even heard of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
So is that sidebar your thing? 'Cause I don't remember doing it.
Well, it's a thing. Like it's an actual existing like sidebar is a
Yeah.
physical thing. But
Isn't it a legal
someone
term?
It is,
brought,
it is.
yeah, someone brought it into communication.
Right. Right.
I believe that's.
Or some people just say unrelated, and then it's not even related at all. Actually,
Right.
Actually, I think our sidebars never relate.
not to change the subject, but like
Yeah.
Right.
that's what I
Right.
usually do.
Right.
Okay, let's go back. But by that point, it's gone. The
Right.
person has lost interest in
Right.
talking.
Yeah.
And then the final thing that prohibits good listening is I lost my place. Pleasing and automatic agreeing with everything, even before understanding what the person is saying completely. So just somebody like a yes person. I haven't encountered that. Have you ever encountered that?
Mm-mm.
Some people have told me that.
That you,
Did you
do
do
that?
Like when they just keep talking, I'm just like, yeah.
You have no idea what they're saying.
And then they'll be like, they'll catch me and they'll be like, Deanna, you don't even know what I'm saying. You keep agreeing. I'd be like, yeah, I do, girl. I understand what you're saying. I'm listening. I'm just like, hurry up. That's a bad affirmation. I'm working on my listening and I've gotten really, I've improved a lot. So yeah, I've been actively improving, actively working on my listening. Yeah. So I can attest to, some of these I used to do. But I mean, I told myself that it needs to be done. It needs to be worked on. So
So you had like a clock in your head, like they need to hurry up and finish talking.
I'm sort of like a, get to the point driven person.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you keep talking, just get to the point. What's going on so we can move on. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I think it's actually good that we put these on the table, because even looking at the list, I realize at times I don't listen, but to actually see it in a list format, to realize like there are multiple things that prohibit me from listening, it actually puts it in my face and shows me like, oh, I maybe need to work on, well, not maybe, I need to work on some of these things, actually just kind of pay attention.
That's a good thing. A very good thing.
So moving on to the next section of discussion. So as we went through this list, we see what distractions are, but we have to realize that listening is a choice, right? So everything we listed out, we are choosing not to listen for whatever interest, whether we want the individuals to get to the point, whether we're daydreaming, we're choosing not to listen to the individual who's in front of us or maybe on the phone.
When you say it like that, it just makes me feel so guilty.
Does it? I have scripture for you then.
Come on with it, sir.
So,
Hammer it in.
right? So in Luke 6, verse 27, this is Jesus talking. He says, "But I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you." So when I read this verse today, when I was doing some research to figure out, just going over the word listening in the actual text, Jesus says, like, usually Jesus commands things, right? In this particular instance, he's saying, for you that choose to listen. So like he's given a real strict commandment, but he's realizing like it's a choice. So like there's going to be individuals there in his particular surrounding at this time who are just not going to hear his words or going to take it in, but not necessarily follow his actions or what he's actually laying out. So it's actually a choice for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with all of that said, so we laid the foundation of poor listening. We talked about Lot's wife and how Lot's wife got burned up. We talked about Moses and how Moses tapped the rock instead of speaking water out of the rock, and he wasn't able to pursue the promised land. Then we talked about personal or just regular examples of why we don't listen. And I have things that will help us become an active listener. So in terms of active listening, the definition for active listening is or how you go about engaging in active listening is you actually look for or try to figure out the meaning behind what's actually going on, and it's more than just hearing the words. It's actually hearing and understanding, as well as receiving an encoded message. Because at times, the sender may not actually be speaking directly, or if they are speaking directly, we may decode it or kind of scramble the message. Um, so it says active listening skills are abilities to help the sender say what he or she means. So when you're an active listener, it's not just kind of sitting and taking everything in. It's actually getting in a conversation with somebody or conversing with somebody to fish out, not necessarily fish out the details, but to get to the heart of the situation, but in a way that you're able to receive. Because I know sometimes in the context of our relationship, men and women, we kind of just communicate different anyway. So some of these things will help you in the context of your relationships as it relates to really understanding how the individual you're conversing with communicates, but then that person will also understand how you hear. Not to say that that person's going to change, but I mean, this backwards and forth dialogue in terms of active listening, I think will actually help our relationships. So the first thing they say to do is listen for message and content and to hear exactly what is being said. Second thing you want to do is actually listen for feelings. And it says try to identify how the sender feels in terms of message content. Is the message pleasing or displeasing to the sender? Number three is respond to the feeling. Let the sender know that his or her feelings, as well as the message or content, are recognized. So, if in the context of if there's an argument or if there's a disagreement, what you'll say is, and actually, I don't want to skip ahead. There's ways we go about doing this. Let me not skip ahead. So you respond to the feeling, know all of the verbal and nonverbal cues. Like I said before, with our relationship, sometimes the nonverbal cues may be off a little bit, but I can't necessarily jump to a conclusion. I may have to ask about that. So like, if I see you, if you notice your friend or individual tensing up, or if you notice facial expressions or eyebrow raise or rolling of eyes, you can actually ask about that. I think a lot of times we assume things when we speak to individuals, but something may actually be going on with the individual that has nothing to do with the context of your typical discussion. So if they're going through something at home or in their personal life, something else, they may be thinking about that, or something you say may actually bring that up. So their body language may not even have to do with your particular discussion.
Right, because in that moment they may not be listening. They might be daydreaming.
But even
thinking about something else.
But even if they're talking too, so
Yeah.
So there's that. And here's what you want to do in terms of it's called reflecting back. So reflect back to the sender your words, in your words, what you think they're actually saying. So it says to paraphrase and restate the verbal and nonverbal messages. Feedback to which the sender responds with further information. And I have a list of things. So like basically when we're in a conversation and you want to confirm that you received the message correctly, you say things like, so what you're saying is ... You feel, based on what you're saying, I can gather that you feel this way ... Or you feel this way because ... So it's basically just a reflection. And then what I found that in trying to practice some of this stuff, a lot of times I could be totally wrong. So, it could be like, well, just to make something up, like, I could tell you're aggravated because I didn't do the dishes. And it could be something totally different. It could be because I didn't take out the trash, or I didn't cook, or I didn't go grocery shopping, or something like that. Not to say that any of that stuff happens, because you're excited with everything I do in the house, right? Right? Okay. And then finally, in order to help us become better listeners or active listeners, it says change the questions into statements. We're not necessarily stating the facts, but simply our perception, saying our perception. In order to relate to the speaker, that we are actively listening and reflecting on what we think is best. And it says begin with the statements that say things such as, "It appears that I sense, you seem, it looks to me like," but I hear you say things. So pretty much the same thing, but it all revolves around reflecting back what is actually said. So I think the key to some of these questions or some of these phrases that we start to reflect back is they have to eliminate a lot of distractions. So I know at times, I may be on my phone, I may have the computer up, I may have the television up, but we want to make our relationship stronger and the communications in our relationship stronger. Sometimes we have to eliminate all of that noise in the background that would actually help us with some of that stuff.
You know what I mean? So,
And
Sunday is-
that is all I have.
Yeah.
Now we're expert listeners, right? So you guys can repeat back everything we just talked about. Go ahead, summarize.
So we talked about some scripture and how certain people wasn't listening.
Who wasn't
in the
listening?
Bible, Moses and Lot's wife. And then we talked about things that impede our listening. So we talked about daydreaming, and we talked about when our thoughts are on other things, and we talked about if we're distracted, if we're waiting for the other person to finish, and if we're trying to be right, and what else? Okay, and then we talked about ways to be a better active listener by eliminating the distractions and focusing on what the person's saying and repeating back what they're saying in your own words, and that's just the gist.
Okay.
I was gonna say that.
That's good.
Oh, we snapped for that one. You're better listener than I thought.
Listen, I
It's a
listen,
choice.
I
You
listen to
chose-
people
You chose to listen.
like every day, so I've been getting real good at this thing here.
What do you do?
I am a social worker.
Oh, so you have to listen.
I don't have to.
It's a
But yeah, it's a choice.
Still a choice for
Yeah, it's still a choice. So yeah.
So that's it for this particular session. We're gonna wrap up the online version. So what's going on? Oh, fully funded again. So we are going out on the 27th to we're providing toiletries. So we went over. So because people donated more, we were actually able to get deodorant. So we got deodorant, hand sanitizer, toothpaste, toothbrushes, wipes, and then like body wash. So because people donated extra money, and I'm not sure, this anonymous giver who actually donated $10 monthly, like recurring. I'm not sure who it was though. So whoever you are, thanks. I'm not sure. Anything else going on?
No, not yet. Oh, we're gonna have a lunch meetup
Next Saturday, right?
next Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
26th. So you guys will hear more about that. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Terrell Harris. You can follow Brooke at Landon Brooke. You can follow Joe at loco_Joko. And visit openbox.com, subscribe to our newsletter. And that is it. Peace and blessings. You guys have a great week.
Bye, y'all.